Big Sills! Friday afternoon, welcome aboard. Thank you guys so much for coming aboard one of the fastest growing shows in sports on YouTube here on JAKIB Sports. It means a ton to all of us. Ever since we jumped aboard here, you guys have made this bad puppy just absolutely grow, and we appreciate it so much. Man, there is a ton of stuff. By the way, one of my favorite people that I have met in broadcasting is going to join the show. Philly 500 is going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time, and we'll get his thoughts. By the way, he was one of the very few guys to jump out in Bijan Robinson's bandwagon right away and said, that guy might be the guy that this football team needs to have on it. And so, you know what? After yesterday's show and after listening to some of the pro scouts, got to tell you, man, he might be right. So he'll be with us at 4:30. Before we get into all the moves that the Eagles made today and some comments that are going around with Lamar Jackson, it's crazy how the media takes these stories and lies. You know, I know Lamar Jackson's folks. Stop it. You're making the guy look like an idiot, and he's not. But before we get there, so it looks like the National Football League is going to allow, and I'm going to call it the Philly Scrum. I'm going to name it the Philly Scrum because why? The Philly Scrum is one of the most successful plays that they have in their playbook. You know, I think the National Football League doesn't like the fact that the Eagles Scrum is so successful in Philadelphia because why? They don't like one team having an advantage over another team. Well, when you pay three guys in your O-line north of $15 million, you're going to have a Philly Scrum be successful and with a quarterback with the type of leg power that Jalen Hurts has. No team in the league has that kind of ability to run that play to that type of success other than the Eagles. Nobody does. Yet they want to try to ban it. Whatever. You know the funny thing about that thing is? So do we agree the Philly Scrum, it's a football play. But you know one play that they never, ever legislate against or ever bitch about? And it's the most useless play in pro football. What is it? It's the extra point. The extra point is the most useless play in pro football history. But it's the number one play that makes all the money. Do you know the extra point makes more money than a Jalen Hurts 80-yard touchdown pass? Do you know why? After every extra point, you go to commercial break. That's how they slice up the TV show for you. Extra points, commercial break, extra points, commercial break. Why do you think the NFL wants... Man, I hate to pull the onion back on you guys here. Why do you think they want higher scoring, more commercial breaks? They hate 17-14 games for a reason. Not many commercial breaks. Okay? All the commercial breaks, extra point. Dude, just give the guy 7 points when he scores a touchdown. NFL, that's the number one. Do you know that's the number one money-making play in the NFL? That play, the extra point. And it's the most useless play. It's not even a football play. But they want to bitch about the Philly Scrum, which is actually a football play. Well, I don't know if this gives a team an unfair advantage. What about that dumbass extra point? It means nothing. It's not even a football play. Kickers aren't football players. Okay? Dude, you're not a football player. If you can wear the same track shoes to dinner and nobody else wears a size 6, you're not a football player. Kickers are not football players. Holy cow, but you want to bitch about the Philly Scrum. All right, let me move on. You know, I want to start this out on a great note for Jalen Hurts here. I know, right? What's becoming evident now is that somehow Lamar Jackson has so much noise around him that it's really unbecoming of a player that doesn't like noise. And I got to hand it to Jalen. Look at all the quiet quarterbacks. Look at the quarterbacks that are quiet. Mahomes. Quite frankly, the only thing that's crazy about Mahomes is his crazy brother. Outside of that, Manning didn't even have and still doesn't have a Twitter handle. Eli just got on it. When Brady was at his height, he rarely was on that thing. Look at all the quarterbacks with all the noise in their life. Seems to get in the way. Jalen has no noise. Jalen Hurts is boring. That's success to me. That's success. Dude, the only time you want to hear Hurts is when he's representing your organization, which he does every time he opens his front door, and when he's on the field. You don't want to see dumbass shit. Look at Lamar, man. There is so much noise around that player right now. And I always thought Lamar was that kind of player that he didn't like or didn't have that kind of noise around him. This guy here, man, Jalen Hurts, dude, if you're going to put a face on the front cover of what a franchise quarterback looks like, that's your dude. To some extent, Dak's like that too. Dak doesn't have a lot of noise around his ass. He can't help it. It's the Cowboys. And the owner, Jerry Jones and Steven and those guys, it's the Cowboys. You can't not help having noise around you when you play in that organization. But Jalen has no noise. Folks, that's a good thing. Look at that chaotic scene going on between the Packers and the Jets. Who wants to be involved in that? It's great for guys like me. But at the end of the day, dude, you want a quarterback like Hurts, man. And you know what's crazy? Jalen Hurts is making money every single day just being quiet. The less he talks, the more money Hurts makes. Dude, this guy's a smart guy, man. Whether or not you like the dual threat aspect or you like the traditional, the one thing you got to say is you got to like this guy. And he's smart as hell. He's smart as hell. When we say the intangibles, it's all about playing and it's all about producing on the field. I get it. But, man, I'll tell you something. He makes no noise. He's the face of the franchise. And the more he sits back and watches all these other guys, they're raising his salary. They're raising Jalen Hurts' salary and value because you know what? This is what these other organizations are doing. Watch this. They're looking to Philly going, man, I wish we had a guy like that. Especially in the offseason, how he handles himself. Look at that guy. My criticism of Hurts is his style of play. And not because he's bad at it, but because they don't last. But the one thing you have to really revere with the guy, and the one thing that you have to respect and appreciate with the guy, he's not a drama queen. This guy goes out and does his job, represents himself. It's funny. I think where he got this from is representing himself first, because if he represents himself with dignity, the rest of it is going to follow suit. No noise around him like you have with Lamar. There's just no noise. No noise, man. Yacht says Purdy has no noise. Purdy hasn't done shit yet for me to sit here and start crowing and saying that this guy's the face of a franchise. That guy's got to play. That guy's got to show up to 17 fights like Hurts did. Okay? Purdy hasn't. Does it look promising? Great. Promising and potential. God, I hate those words. If some goes, Sills, you're down. No. I want to see it. I don't want to preach potential. That sucks. Preaching potential. Worst thing on the planet. And you know what, too? I'll say this one more time. Potential has to be the most overrated word used in professional sports. 70% of the time, it doesn't pan out. I hate that conversation. By the way, I'm going to get to another take on Hurts, and I want to get your opinion on it because I think it's essential in his negotiations. But I got a list here. Oh, by the way, let me first hit on the Lane Johnson restructuring of his contract. God, if there's a guy on that roster that deserves to be paid $30 million in 2026, it's that dude. He's going to Canton. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Lane Johnson's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going. Here, I'll make this point to you. That Joe Thomas dude in Cleveland, remember something. I'm on the Hall of Fame panel. I put names together for all the voters. I'm one of the guys on the panel. Jason Cole wasn't supposed to tell you that, but I am one of the guys. I'm trying to get Eric Allen's name on that list this year. Is Lane Johnson better than Joe Thomas? Yeah. Joe Thomas follows me on Twitter, and I respect him. I put his name on the list last year. In my opinion, Lane Johnson is first ballot. When they ask me to pick 5 guys and his time's up in 5 years removed from his playing time, he'll be on my list. I think he's better than Joe Thomas. He's not better than Orlando Pace. He's probably not better than Jonathan Ogden, but I'll tell you, not far behind Ogden. Not far behind Jonathan Ogden. I think Jonathan Ogden was a spectacular player. Okay? And if you talk about right tackles, you're talking Ron Yeri, Forrest Gregg. You're talking about some of the greatest players in the history of the sport. There's not a ton of right tackles that you could really put on that list. He could be in the top 3 when it comes to right tackles. The traditional tackles are the left tackles. But Lane has put himself in a position as a first ballot. Okay? I think he's in between Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace, somewhere in there. He's better than Joe Thomas, in my opinion. Okay? He's better than Joe Thomas. So the restructuring, let me ask you this. I'm going to get to a topic on that. I think it's fantastic. Frees up $10 million and given to a guy who's the best player on the Eagles. Funny, we're going to do some stuff today. I've got the best quarterbacks in the NFC. I've got the top 30 players, 32 players that are ranked by ability, not by need with teams. Jay says this, making us like you again, man. Must be the water. Philly 500 at 430. And also, I ranked the top 22 Eagles. We're going to get to that here in a minute. And by the way, I'm going to expand more on the Lane Johnson restructuring of his contract here in a second. So the Eagles sign a guy in Terrell Edmonds at safety. 26, 79 games and 75 starts with the Steelers. Let me stop there first. He played with the Steelers. That means he was well coached. But here's something you always got to remember when you leave the Steelers. The Steelers don't want you to go. They're the best organization in the NFL on player development. There's nobody better. There's nobody better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh believes in the draft. Pittsburgh believes in second and third contracts for their guys. So for them to let him walk, they want to upgrade the position. And they'll probably do that in the draft. So that tells you right there. However, playing for Tomlin, he was obviously well coached. Steelers defensively have not been that good the last 2 years, especially against the pass. 5 INTs in his career, 276 solos, 15 TFLs. not really a ball hawk here. Last year in 22, 70 total tackles in 15 ball games. Here, and again, whatever you think of Chris Collinsworth in Pro Football Focus, some go like this. Sills, this guy was ranked ahead of Gardner Johnson. I told you what the stupid-ass media in Philly will do. They'll make this guy sound like Lito Shepherd here in a minute. Gardner Johnson just signed a $10 million contract, $8 million with $1.5 million in bonuses and incentives. Shut up. It's not true. He's not better than Gardner Johnson. However, again, 31st in the NFL in coverage, 40th in run defense, according to Chris Collinsworth, a.k.a. Pro Football Focus, whatever that means. You guys will take Chris Collinsworth's word and sit there and try to convince yourself that this guy's a better player than Gardner Johnson. This is what fans do. Well, he's better. Yeah, he had more opportunities because he played on a shitty defense last year. Again, I mean, the kid that they signed from Chicago and this guy, these are bodies. Here, Tone said something to me prior to going on the air that he's right. Sills, when you play next to good people and really good players, doesn't that elevate your game too? He's right, 1,000%. Okay, 1,000%. Did Slay benefit having Gardner Johnson back there and vice versa? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did Epps benefit from having Brad? Absolutely. Did TJ Edwards benefit from the play of Kaiser White? You know why you have to say yes? They all got paid. Shit, Fletcher Cox got paid. Fletcher Cox got paid more money than I thought. And Javon Hargrave got paid more money than I thought. I'm like, right? Right? So I look at Edmonds and go like this. Let's see what he does. I made a comment yesterday about Greedy Williams yesterday. And he has not lived up to the second-round pick when he was in Cleveland. Darius Slay wasn't doing anything in Detroit, really. He got to Philly, turned himself into an all-pro and a Pro Bowler 2 years in a row. Environments can change you with better coaching. Detroit was a shit show before Dan Campbell. Okay? It was a shit show. And it looks like it's turning the corner. Better coaching, better fundamentals, better direction, right? Can that be a factor? Absolutely. But again, we're in the land of wishful thinking again. We're in the land of wishful thinking. Understand that. You're in the land of wishful thinking, which is uncertainty as you prepare for this team. To put together some more pieces here, the Lane Johnson restructuring, I'll tell you, man, here are the top moves so far in the offseason. Getting Kelsey back, Bradbury's deal, restructuring at a cheaper price for Darius Slay, and in my opinion, Lane Johnson's restructuring. The rest of it, good. Some pieces, but really it's the dollar store shopping right now. Okay? It's dollar store shopping. So let me get over here to the topics here. Let me start this out here before we get into Lane Johnson and the top 10 prospects that I think the Eagles, if they're going to do anything at 10, I've written down the top 10 prospects in the NFL draft this coming April, okay? It's not by me. These are by NFL scouts and general managers that gave me this list, and I formulated a list, and I guess it is me listening to the intel of these other men. Do we agree that there'll be a particular number this year before the Eagles walk away in negotiations with Jalen Hurts? You think they'll throw a number out and not budge off that number? Because remember what I said yesterday. They're under no obligation to pay him. under zero obligation to pay Jalen Hurts right now. He's got another year on his deal. And after the debacle of Carson Wentz, they're not obligated to pay him. And the Eagles walk to their own beat. They're not going to sit there and worry about what Cleveland did or what Baltimore's doing or what the Jets are doing and Green Bay are doing. They pretty much walk to their own tone here. Is there a number that they'll throw at them? And if that number doesn't seem to be in the same conversation, both parties will walk away from it. I don't think you guys understand. This negotiation is going to have a little bit of angst to it. Okay? It's going to have a little angst to it. You think there's a number that they'll throw out there? Because again, if they're addressing Jalen Hurts' contract now, they're expecting him to maybe, I don't know, walk back a couple $1 million because why would I give you a contract now that I don't have to? Okay, why would I? You think there's a number? I do. I think there'll be a number. I think they'll throw out like maybe $48 million. And if they don't want to start there, I think the Eagles will pass on that and they'll wait for the offseason. Because I think $48 million is a fair number. It's between Kyler and potentially what Lamar's going to get. And I'm addressing it early. You see, this is where the Eagles can win this publicly. We offered him 48 over 3 years with an option in the 4th year. And we were going to guarantee 80% of it. And if you don't take it, that's not on the Eagles. That's on Jalen Hurts' people. I think the Eagles have to put this on Hurts' people by doing it and offering it this way to them. Am I wrong? Now, next year, guy puts up another MVP season, they're going to have to pay north of 50. But right now, to me, I think there's a number. There has to be a number. This is not an open checkbook conversation. This is not going to be an open checkbook conversation when it comes to dealing with Hurts' contract. Right? Hey, give us a number, Jalen. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. What's the number you think the Eagles, and what do you think the number to open up with would be fair for them? You know, it's funny, I haven't heard that. What's the fair number, you think? I don't give a shit about Lamar Jackson right now. I care about Jalen Hurts' contract. Darius Slay was a Pro Bowler in Detroit. Great. I don't remember it. I do when he's in Philly. GG goes 48's a good number. 46.5, a little bit more than Murray. That's not bad. I wouldn't get butthurt over that. You know? Big Picking goes 48's actually. But I think Clutch Sports is going to ask for 50. 51. I think the Eagles walk away from that. You know, we addressed this early for you. We didn't have to. You're going to make $4 million, Jalen. We'll see you at the end of the season. There's got to be some negotiations here. Okay? Tony says, Dan, I believe Hurts is privy to everything Howie's doing to build this roster up for the season. I do too. I think, hey, Tony, I think this now. When you're paying these guys, especially these quarterbacks, north of $50 million or around $50 million, I think you've got a seat at the executives table now. I do. Okay? I do believe that. I think that they're I don't think so much that he's involved on the other side of the ball, but I think he's privy to what's going on when they had to let Sayamalo and Miles Sanders go, because that affects him in a way. Okay? I think that affects him. So, you know, and maybe a heads up that hey, how about this? Do you think they gave Jalen a heads up to bring a Mariota in? You think they gave Jalen Hurts a heads up? Hey, Jalen, I think we got our backup here for you. We're going to bring Marcus Mariota in. What do you think of that? You think they told him that? You think they said this to him? Hey, look, this is the kind of guy we're looking. Marcus kind of fits the bill. And, you know, I don't think they wanted to get his blessing, but I think they wanted to just give him a head. Dude, you're never going to get Jalen making decisions on the team. But what you want to do is like they did in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. They kept him apprised along with Alex Smith. All the shit that was going on when Alex Smith was ahead of Pat. I think that's fair communications, and I think that really leads to great negotiations. And I think you keep Jalen abreast of what's going on. I think that makes negotiations smoother. And I think that's why Jalen Hurts has been silent, because they've been keeping him apprised of everything. Hey, we're going down this route. Hey, we're going to restructure this. Hey, Lane's deal. We're going to get to Lane's deal in a second. I want to throw a little curveball at that thing here in a minute. And then again, we're going to talk about the top 10 prospects. I think, yeah, I actually, Tony, I actually think that's a great take, because the more I have communications and the more I'm transparent with Jalen Hurts and all the things that are going on in building this team back to potentially being remotely close to what they had in 2022, I think that goes a long way when it comes to negotiating your contract. That's what's making that thing in Green Bay so nasty. They have no interest in telling Aaron Rodgers anything. I mean, there's no communications. I do believe there's some of that going on, because Jalen is receptive to it, and he's receptive to it. I do. All right. So I do think there's a number. I think 48's a good number to open at. 48 million, in my opinion, is a good number to open at for Jalen Hurts. 48. All right. What do you guys think the $10 million contract restructuring of free money is for? What do you think it's for? Hey, I'm with you guys. Look, 48. Jalen starts talking about $55 million. I'm out. I'm not. You're not getting that now, because I came to you early when you still had another year on your deal. MJ, I think the communications is important in this whole thing. What do you guys think the $10 million in restructuring of Lane Johnson's contract, what do you think that's being done for? What do you think that's being done? $10 million. I think it was something like $26 million this year that was on the books, and I think they got it down to 14, if I'm not mistaken. It's somewhere in that conversation. Okay? What do you think the $10 million is for? Kyle says Jalen's new contract. Restructure is to make it played for Wagner this season. Big picking. Okay. Max hit it. Max is right. This $10 million is not for Jalen Hurts. This $10 million is for your upcoming April draft. Vet, that is so cool of you, man. For an elite NFL quarterback, to average prices costing clubs is 22%, with equals about 48.75, with the cap going to $242 million next year. Ballpark for Hurts will be 50. Never happen. Vet, you're not going to get a $53 million contract to offer when I don't have to offer it to you. They don't have to offer that. He's got another year remaining on his deal. They're under no obligation to pay him this year but the $4 million. them coming to him, Vet, I appreciate it. Vet, that was awful cool. Vet, they're under no obligation, Vet, to pay him this year. None. And by the way, having a good year, fantastic. Congratulations. Welcome to the NFL. Okay? Charlie, I don't think they're going after Henry. If you're going to go after an elite running back, by the way, I watched more film on B.J. Robinson last night. He's got Reggie Bush in him, but he's bigger. Though he's a great-looking prospect. He's a great-looking prospect. The more and more I watch him, dude, it's the 20 yards of tape. He's got it. You put him behind that offensive line, I got to say, watch this. Who would you think make a bigger impact on the Philadelphia Eagles this coming year, Devon Witherspoon or B.J. Robinson? Who would make a bigger impact on that team this year? Who do you think would make a bigger impact? B.J. Robinson or Devon Witherspoon? That guy's going to Dallas. I'm telling you. The Cowboys are going to get that guy. They are circling that guy. And I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. You know how close I am with the Jones family? That's their guy. They want him. The Cowboys want him or Derrick Henry if Tennessee cuts loose of that guy. They want Derrick Henry. Okay? That evens the pot in the NFC East. You put Derrick Henry or Bijan Robinson behind Dak, you're in the room with the Eagles. You're in the room. Henry had 1,500 yards last year. He's 28 years old. Don't kid yourself. And stop talking shit that the guy's done. He's second in the league in rushing. That guy is built like Adrian Peterson. He's one of those freak of nature guys. Okay? 350 carries. Do you know how many backs in NFL history aren't built for that? But he and Adrian are. Those guys are freaks of nature. Okay? Bijan Robinson with the Cowboys, that's a big deal, dude. I like the kid Gibbs from Alabama. I think he's a good ball player, too. I do. But I'll give you the top and rank the top players athletically. We're going to do that in the show today, too. But I'm going to get to the top 10 prospects where the Eagles are picking at 10. Okay? And I'll tell you, if the Eagles draft anybody else other than these 10 for that 10th pick, you're overdrafting like you did for Jordan Davis last year. Okay? Boy, man. I think the Cowboys, man, they're circling two dudes in free. One, they want Henry, and they want Robinson out of Texas because they want help for Dak. The shit I talked about yesterday for Jalen. This is the stuff I talked about for Jalen. You want Jalen Hurts to continue to show progress and get better? You got to recoup 1,300 yards of offense and 11 touchdowns. And if you think you're going to do it with a convention of running backs, you're nuts. You're crazy. How about sure things? Henry, 1,500 yards. Robinson, third or fifth best talent in the NFL draft coming up. Dude, you're not overdrafting Bijan Robinson at 10. I don't give a shit what people. Hey, how many people think? Look at what Tennessee did. Let's just look at what Tennessee did. You know, Derrick Henry was a second-round draft choice. Derrick Henry. If you put that guy back in the draft, he'd have been the number one overall pick over quarterbacks. Derrick Henry was a second-round pick. Tennessee got a monster pick out of that. The Eagles overdraft Jordan Davis. Tennessee gets a deal and Derrick Henry. That is the Jason Kelsey, ladder round guy, Hall of Famer. You know, when someone goes, Lane Johnson, but he's been one of the best players. No shit. Look how high he was drafted. That panned out, that pick. And it was a quality pick, and it was not overdrafting. The player anytime a player exceeds where he's drafted, look at Ray Lewis. Ray was like 26 or 27. You think Ray Lewis overperformed where he was drafted? Or a Shannon Sharp? Or a Joe Montana? Look at that. All right. I want to now look at the top 10 prospects. I love doing the draft stuff because I talk to as many people as I can. Because after you watch film, you want to hear what people think of these guys. Where's that list? Here we go. Eagles pick a 10. Here's the top 10 players athletically. These are the top 10 players, not where they're expected to go. So make this understand. I want you to understand. When I give you the names here, this is not where they're going to go. Like the number one pick is Carolina. Carolina has to overdraft. And now you're going to get a sense. Do you know who helped me formulate all this? Is Jimmy Johnson. Coach Johnson showed me how to draft. Never, wherever you are in the draft, never overdraft. When you're in overdrafting mode, you usually suck for generations because you're usually panicking. Okay? You're usually panicking. Okay. Eagles pick a 10. Here are the top 10 players. According to Bledsoe, which is the scouting service, and according to 5 GMs. I'm not going to say what teams. I don't want anyone to. 5 teams. I'll give you one of them because I don't think he'd mind. Carolina. Okay? The number one player in the NFL draft athletically is Will Anderson. The Bama edge rusher is the number one player. And by the way, I've got another service. And what I did was all the Eagle needs, and I'll show you 10 and 30. We'll do that at the top of the hour. Will Anderson, if Carolina's smart, they draft him, but they can't. They need a quarterback. Guess who's number 2? Jalen Carter. Man, if you're the Eagles, man, and you're watching all this shit go on, hey, how about you did this? Man, you start floating out. You know, this Jalen Carter guy, man, I don't know if his character, I don't know. You start throwing those smoke signals out that you're not going to take the guy because of character issues. The guy's not really good. You know, you really have question marks about him. You start talking shit on him. But behind your mind, man, you really want this kid. That's what I would do. I'd give you the opposite of what's going on. I start talking like I'm in hockey here. Man, we have no interest. Yeah, you don't want to talk shit on the kid. So you'd say this, we have no interest in that, you know. Some question marks here for us, and because you want to show some character. You don't want to be a tool like Urban Liar and be some piece of shit like that. So what you want to do is, but Jalen Carter's the second-ranked guy. Okay? Number 3. These are the top 10 players, skill and athletic-wise. Bryce Young. You know, I talked to Frank about the guy. Go, Frank, he's small, man. Because I don't care. Watch him on tape. You put a line in front of him. You know what Frank said? How he would. You know what Frank said and how he'd coach him? He'd coach him like Wilson and Breeze. And he said this, you don't drop a kid like that back 7 steps. You drop him 9. Because that's the technique Wilson discovered. Because he's small, Wilson drops 9 so he could see over his guys and more of the field, and sliding his feet so he creates passing lanes in between the tackles and guard and center. He goes, you have to come up with a little bit different of a nuance. Breeze does that too. Watch the way Breeze gets in a 9-step drop, not 7. And it's a technique that shorter guys do. So you float him back 9 steps instead of 7 so he could see over everything more and see more of the field. Number 4, these are the top 10 prospects athletically. These aren't where they're going. Peter Skornowski, offensive tackle, Northwestern. You're talking about a guy who is going to start immediately, and according to pro scouts, he's going to the Pro Bowl. He's one of the more gifted kids that they've seen at that position. He's going to be, in my opinion, a top 10 pick. Number 5, the 5th best athlete, player in the upcoming April draft is Bijan Robinson. If you're the Eagles and he falls to 10, are you going to roll out of him and draft and overdraft another kid? Is it need, or are you looking for players? Are you looking for players? Robinson, I said yesterday, there's some people think he's a 3rd. So he's between 3 and 5 now. So you take Joey Porter Jr., who's considered like the 12th or 13th. That's not too bad. 13, 10, not awful. Number 6 on the list of the best players in the draft, C.J. Stroud. So if Carolina takes him, you would have passed on the higher-ranked guy, and you would have overdrafted. You're already overdrafting Bryce at 3. Now, can these guys – I made the example. Like Ray Lewis. Ray was down in the late 20s. He overperformed where he was drafting. Guys do it all the time. Jordan Davis did not live up to his position. He was overdrafted. As of today, whatever you want to call him, I've never said the word bust. I've never said that word. He was overdrafted as of March 24th. He has a chance to rectify that this year. Right now, he's overdrafted. He is not very productive. His production numbers are awful, actually. Number 7 is Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon. So if the Eagles take him at 10, it's a quality pick. Yeah, it says Bijan is slow. It's such a lie. Watch him on tape. Watch his cutting ability. Watch his vision. He's a better back than Miles Sanders already. He's good in pass protection. He's a better pass catcher. Outside of Miles Sanders' first season when he caught more passes, that went away quick. I don't know why. Okay? That's not true. He's an electric player. I've watched him. You know when you see a guy that has the vision he has in traffic. I always thought Miles Sanders, I think Miles got better this year in traffic. I did. But I never thought he was good inside traffic when it came to his Eagle career. He got better last year. He did. Could be a late bloomer, but let's face it. All the years he was in Philly, last year was his best year. You paid basically for one season and Carolina $7 million. Well, actually $25 million. Okay? Okay, Chris, whatever. I'll tell you what, I'll take Bijan because you know why? I get him at $1 million. And if he is, how about if he's as good? It's cheaper. And he's younger. Number 8 is Tyree Wilson, edge rusher, Texas Tech. I think he is the second best edge rusher in the draft. My problem is the Big 12. I mean, it's such a shitty defensive conference. I hate that conference defensively. Nobody plays it. You know, I mean, defensive guys in the Big 12. I mean, really? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. But when you watch him, Carl Dunbar saw him at the combines and he said, Dan, this guy is just absolutely a fantastic football player. And you can see it because he watched him on film and he watched him in his drills. That's kind of what Carl does. Carl's the D-line coach for the Steelers. Number 9 is Paris Johnson, offensive tackle, Ohio State. 2 OTs. 2 OTs in the top 10. Could the Eagles go there? Any one of these guys get drafted outside of the quarterbacks, the Eagles got themselves a good player and didn't overdraft. Myles Murphy's 10. A lot of people like Myles at that position there for a Philly. You put him on the outside there, plays behind Brand. Watch this. You put Myles Murphy, you put him at defensive end, you have him play behind Brandon Graham. Those two guys switch off in reps. You're mentored by one of the better guys that they've had in the organization over the last 30 years. And then you got Sweat and Murphy for the next 10 years at defensive end. And if Jordan Davis pans out, you're young and you're going to have that group around for a long time. It's pretty smart if you think about it. So here's your top 10 players. Will Anderson 1, Bama. Jalen Carter, man, Jalen Carter in the middle of that defense would help massively. I don't care about anything. The guy didn't, watch this, he didn't rape anyone or kill anyone. He's my guy. He didn't beat a dog. He didn't beat an elderly. He didn't smack a woman. I'm drafting him. I don't care. Now, like I've been telling you the last week or 2 weeks now since the combines, I don't want to draft stupid, reckless. That's not what I'm looking for. Make me not want to not draft you. You know what I'm saying? Kid, if we get into a conversation, you start talking stupid shit to me, I'm going to pass on you because I'm not drafting dumb. Dumb never wins. Smarts, focus, knowing who you are, knowing where you are is important when you're a professional. Take it from somebody who didn't understand that. You see, guys, when I talk to you, always remember this. I talk to you from failure. Yes. I've understood this now. Had nothing to do with ability. I failed myself. Okay? I failed. Me. My aunt hates when I talk like this because but I did. I allowed stupid shit to get in the way. Don't let that be you. Because I would talk to the kid. Dude, you're out drag racing. When you got a combine around the corner and someone was killed, you think that's smart? You know, that's funny because people always do this. Sileo sounds like he pretends he's a Pro Bowler. No, I come from failure. I was a junior and a 56th player taken. I had to go to supplemental draft. When I got to the pros, I didn't know how to handle being a pro. That's where I come from. How about you? When I look in the mirror, every month. Sometimes I just want to take a hammer and smash my face in because I let an opportunity pass me by. I tell that kid, don't let that be you. It aggravates me sometimes when I see guys blowing opportunities. Okay? Maybe I've never really told you guys that. I don't come from a place of bragging about what I did. It's what I didn't do. Shit, you had Rich McKay come on here, the president of the Falcons. We moved you around, and I was stupid. Don't be that guy. That's why when guys make mistakes, I want to talk to you. I'm not going to listen to a narrative of a media turd telling me, I want to talk to you. What kind of man are you? Did you learn? Where are you now? Who's around you? Have you made any adjustments to your life? That's what I want to know on Jalen Carter. I already see the tape. He's Jerome Brown and got sap qualities to him. Every team overdraft happens all the time. Okay, vet, true. We're trying to dismiss that. What was funny is Jimmy Johnson built an entire Super Bowl dynasty by not overdrafting. That's why I took his lead and why he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as one of the best coaches and talent evaluators of all time. By the way, he also drafted in latter rounds Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor, who also made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He took them in later rounds. Jimmy knows what he's doing. Okay? So these guys here, man, if the Eagles draft any one of these 10 outside of the quarterbacks, obviously, you got yourself a player. When you start dipping outside of the top, see, to me, the list that's the most important list, you know what? You want to know why most mock drafts are full of shit and why no one, Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, or any of these other losers that come up with these, including me. You know why they never hit? Because you're overdrafting positions and you're panicking, and because the top 10, you don't really draft the best player available. What you draft is you draft the quarterbacks. You see these 10 guys? There's 2 quarterbacks in the top 10. 4 are going in the top 10. Which means some of these guys are sliding. And there's going to be more. Oh, by the way, I think there's going to be a lot of traffic at 10 for Howie, with teams calling him, wanting to make a deal. And there's going to be players down there that let me say this to you. Jalen Carter could fall down there. I still think he's going to hit around 7. He's going to slide. But is it enough to get down to 10? And could there be there's always a dumbass surprise in the top 10, isn't there? Somebody always goes crazy and off the reservation and puts a guy in the top 10, and you're counting on inexperienced drafting people. By the way, once again, the Eagles aren't really the greatest at drafting also. They're not known for great drafters, I don't think. Later rounds, you know what's funny? They're better in the later rounds because you know why? Then it becomes best player available. And that's where Howie and his guys do a great job. Howie and his guys do a better job at drafting, in my opinion, from rounds 2 down. They're better from 2 to 7 than they are from 1 to 2. Am I wrong? Look at the guys that they've had on the team have success. They've been later round guys. That's right, Neil. Not only do you not overdraft from 3 to 5, you don't overpay from 3 to 5. So any one of these dudes outside of the quarterbacks, If they're there at 10, dude, Robinson, here's who I think are going to be at 10. Robinson, Paris Johnson, Miles Murphy, I'm going to say Christian Gonzalez. You're going to have 4 guys I think you're going to be able to choose from down there at 10. Robinson, Gonzalez, Johnson, and Murphy. Would you take any one of those guys or would you move down? What would you do? I think the OT from Northwestern's going early, maybe 5. Young's going second or first. Anderson won't be on the board down there at 10. Stroud's going probably to Carolina. Tyree Wilson will be the second best edge rusher. I think he's going to go between 6 and 8. Gonzalez, 6 and 8. Johnson, probably around there at 10. Which one of these guys do you feel comfortable, or do you move out of this? I think B.J. Robinson, Christian Gonzalez, remember I said this, I'm going to keep this sheet. B.J. Robinson, Christian Gonzalez, Paris Johnson, or Miles Murphy. I'm telling you guys, if you draft somebody else on that board that's not in this top 10 list, you're overdrafting a dude massively. And I'm going to get to that at the top of the hour where these guys are ranked by numerous general managers and other organizations. Which one of these guys helps your team? How about this? Which one of these guys helps your team out the most this coming season if you're the Philadelphia Eagles? And remember something here with these guys. They're going to be cheaper on that $10 million restructuring of Lane Johnson is for these guys, not for Jalen Hurts. They didn't do that for Jalen. They did that for the upcoming. Remember I told you they didn't have the money for the draft. The restructuring of Lane is for the draft. They didn't have any money for the draft. Do you move down? Robinson, Gonzalez? Me, I'd probably draft Murphy. I would probably draft Murphy. That's where I'm going. I would probably take Murphy. If these are my choices, Robinson, Christian Gonzalez, my priorities changed. Let me go get a corner next year. And by the way, maybe if I trade out of 10, I get a corner next year. What if you trade that 10th pick to get a first rounder next year? There's always going to be, here's something you're going to always know. There's going to be great corners in the NFL draft next year coming out of the Southeastern Conference. Just watch the conference every year. There's always brilliant corners. Okay? Always. Once again, people like Batman don't get it. These aren't where they're going. And these aren't my thoughts. This is the NFL's thoughts on the top 10 players. This guy's going to take some dumbass that's ranked 20th at 10, like they did a year ago. They took Jordan Davis, 13. Jordan Davis was ranked 27th. You got what you drafted. You overdrafted again. He's not the 13th pick. I'm not sure he'll ever be. In 5 years, I said it yesterday, he's got 9 sacks. Not a very productive dude. He's not. So, here's your top 10. What we're going to do next is, I put this out there. Talking to the same people last night, and I had them email me over their top 10 and top 32 players. What I did with the Eagles was I put safety, defensive tackle, edge rusher, and offensive lineman. These are going to be the rankings of players that the Eagles have a need for. And with the Eagles, with the 10th pick and the 30th pick as of March 24th, these are the quality rankings. Don't do what you did with Jordan Davis last year. Now you're hoping he plays and is a good player. You're hoping. As of right now, your question marks, and it's a rightfully so question mark. Do you know the only thing that you could say about Jordan Davis is, I hope he plays better. You can't say anything else. You can't do, I know he'll play better. You don't know that. I don't know that. That's the point here. I saw no promise last year that he was the 13th pick. What's his name said this? Vita Vea. You think he's as good as Vita Vea? You're hoping. He's not that good. When you compare him to him, he's not Vita Vea. That's not happening. That's a lie. Okay. We're going to look at the needs. Okay. And the rankings from 5 NFL teams and general managers and the Blesto scouting system that the NFL uses. And I'm going to tell you, again, with the 10th pick and with the 30th pick, where you look at with the needs of the team. Hit the like button. Don't forget my boy, Philly 500 at 4:30 Eastern. Keep it here on the National Football Show.